out. So I wanted to take some time before I get into working on some commissions and regular artwork like I usually do, and kind of take this time to explain a little bit about how I go about warming up in a very like transparent and raw fashion. So like before I get to working on like let's say like I have this commission already that I have to start working on painting on, I don't necessarily go straight into just painting already because I'm very rough. I'm like just waking up in the morning. I've had breakfast, walk the dog, but I don't have my mind all warmed up to work on drawing, like illustrating. Like I have to get my brain into a mode of okay, we're going to be sketching, or we're going to be focusing on light, texture, like a whole bunch of different things that I want to do for that commission. It takes kind of steps for my brain to just start thinking about these things. And a great way that I started to develop warming up was just getting into sketching and trying to just figure out different poses or different ways that I could just start sketching and feeling comfortable. That's like the main thing. So we'll just start up a new file. I don't really want to I just don't have anything really planned right now, and that I don't want to like kind of cooking show prepare this. So I just wanted to show like my really raw process for how I go about taking, just like half an hour. We're just going to take like maybe half an hour or 20 minutes to just try to draw something to get our minds going, because it's really hard when you're just starting a commission and sometimes you don't know where to go and stuff because you didn't do any exercises. You didn't like take some time to think about how you're gonna like go about drawing your lines and stuff. And there's just so much things that like as I understand it, like that your brain does automatically without really thinking about what you're doing. And you want to get your brain into this kind of zone where you're just thinking about like having fun and working. Like you're like there's no real expectation here. So there's a lot of different avenues we could go about, but I generally start with like thinking about my like kind of, it's kind of narcissistic, but I just think about my Sona and like maybe think about like putting him in a cool pose or something. I generally start with this blue line, and I think about like the head or the expression or something that I can go with that'll like get my brain thinking about like, ooh, maybe he's like looking at something, or he's trying to, I don't know, just try to figure out like what the character is doing, like what's the motivation and stuff. There's kind of like this, just like this huge area where I'm just trying to feel it out, and it's not always gonna look great, especially in the sketching stage, because it's just gonna be super rough. But if I can get some of these kind of landmarks down, like with the head and stuff, and really feel like I'm kind of attaching myself to some kind of form, then that's where I'll go with the piece. I don't right now, I literally have no idea. So I just want to take this time to sort of narrate what I'm thinking when I'm going about drawing something. And you can already tell, like I'm drawing live and talking live right now, and already like my mind's like just going straight for like furry head, like just furry animal head. And I don't really have an idea in mind right now. I usually just try to think about anatomy a little bit, and maybe I'll do something like with like a torso. There's nothing really like concrete that I have in my brain right now, and it kind of just goes everywhere. But maybe we'll see, like once I'm done warming up this part of my brain, we can go into like creating something that's a bit more flowy and kind of I don't know, has a little bit more like substance to it. It's really hard. But that's kind of like the hope I have when going into this, where it's like we're not really expecting anything interesting or super amazing and like Mona Lisa style artwork, because we're not here to create a magnum opus. We're just here to warm up our brain to get some idea of how to get back into the flow of things when we're going to be working on our commissions or schoolwork or whatever it is. I don't know where to go right now. I just want to try to emphasize that. I'm still doing heads for some reason. I don't know. Nah, we don't need to do heads. Let's try to think about a little bit about a direction. I'll usually, before I go about sketching, I'll just go and look at some inspirations for my art. Like, I'll just see art that I like on my Twitter, and I'll be looking at like, oh, that's really cool muscle anatomy or something, and I'll try to remember that, and I'll try to think about how they structured and created that kind of form. And it takes a lot of focus, and I don't think that I always manage my focus really well, because there's always a lot of social media to pay attention to, and that can always be really distracting when you're trying to get something going. Like, that's why, like, even right now, it's like a huge struggle for me right now to try and think of something concrete and just build something. My brain is just not warmed up right now, and that's okay. So let's see. Maybe we can try to write down a few words to see if it'll give us a little bit of direction. Like, I'll just go look back at my Twitter and see if there's something cool that inspires me, because I remember going back to one of my podcasts, talking with some artists, and Zephix, he talked about when I asked him, how do you go about starting work, especially when you're burnt out or you don't really feel all that inspired. And one of the things that he told me was that you have to feel motivated. You have to feel something that really motivates you, and it's work that captivates you and makes you want to make work like that. So you have to look for inspiration. Maybe you could also find something like that just looks cool. I don't really think that people want to just draw anything nilly-willy. We just want to make something that's really cool to us, and then we can share it. So I'm really trying to get the gears going right now and think about, like, oh, maybe there's a game I've played, or maybe there's a comic that I was paying attention to that I can make some fan art of. Or I'll just go back to drawing my Sona. So maybe I'll try to see if we can just do that. We can draw the Sona doing something neat. So let's just put all of this away. And see if we can go with just a loose sketch, and then let's try to refine it a bit, and then feel happy about that. So let's see. What's a good pose? I don't know. I like to think about, like, the torso in some kind of twisting fashion, kind of like juxtapose with the hips. Kind of nice. And if I get quiet again, I think it's mostly because I'm having a tough time trying to balance working and thinking about something, and then my mind might kind of trail off and then go quiet. So if that's the case, oh well. So it's fun to think about kind of like your beans and stuff, and think about how the hip connects to the back, and the back and all these forms like kind of overlay. Sorry if I can't really explain anything super well right now. I'm trying to get better at that. But yeah, let's just try to keep it going, keep that energy, keep that enthusiasm, that creative juices going. Let's see, what can we do? Let's see, maybe we can put, it's kind of effeminate looking actually, because I have larger hips here. Let's see, maybe I can put, say, contrapposta, something like, maybe like that. And what really helps warm up your forms, especially for figures, is actually just doing figure drawings. Sometimes I'll get to a point where I'm not really focused on getting like my anatomy squared away. Like, sometimes I'm just happy with how my anatomy is right now, and I'll focus on doing studies at particular times. Like, before I used to get caught up into like, oh, I don't know all the fundamentals right away, I don't know exactly how I'm gonna go about my anatomy or my composition, and I get over flooded with all these things that I try to focus on, and it's just not helpful. So maybe just like I'll take some time to just say like, hey, you know what? I'll accept the amount of knowledge that I have now, and I'll try to just work with what I have, and that'll be enough because I'm still making a lot of headway with just the tools that I have now instead of worrying about what I could have later. So let's see. It looks like he's walking or something. Yeah, maybe just out for a little stroll. See, like now I'm feeling a little bit more confident about what it is that I'm going for because now I'm creating a little bit more of a story. He's going for a walk. He's doing something. Not sure what yet, but I'm still figuring that out. And that's all a part of the process that is kind of like what I want to make the point with this video, that a lot of the times it's a huge struggle, but if we at least put ourselves out there to figure out things, then we'll do a little bit better each time to develop an idea or make little steps towards a project to completion. So let's see. Working towards maybe he's like got a backpack or something. Trying to think about. I like shoulder bags too. Those are always fun. But ooh, let's make it across the other way so it doesn't totally cover up that nice arch in the back and stuff. Maybe it's got a little messenger bag or something. Actually, we could try to, yeah. We don't have to worry too much about everything. We just want to try to figure out a nice idea. Because like that's the thing that I always got like caught up before about, where it's like, oh, I have to draw everything all at once and I have to make it all look good as possible because, you know, once you put down lines, they're permanent. But no, you don't really have to be married to any of the ideas, because that's the beautiful thing about art. You can keep drawing over, you can keep changing things. It's not gonna stay the same forever. Like I'm not drawing in permanent marker. I'm on my digital tablet and I can always add another layer. I can always erase. Nothing's permanent, and you don't have to be stuck with something you don't like. It's always changing, and that's the important part to remember. And it's really freeing too when you kind of think like that. I'll sometimes erase and try to figure out you know, what looks nice, add some fur here and there. It's really, I've really gotten accustomed to just drawing like furries, to just drawing anthropomorphic stuff. It's really nice. It is my safe zone. You know, and that's okay. Work from your safe zone too. Sometimes if you can work from there, then you'll feel a little bit more free to branch out and start drawing other things. Yeah, it's really easy as an artist, I think, for, to be discouraged when you're drawing, and I often do get really nervous, but that's a part of this exercise, and that's part of why I think it's really important to just kind of free yourself from that. So let's see what else. Maybe you could be holding something. I don't really like the pose of that arm. Let's try to fix it. And yeah, like I said before, like I'm not really here to focus on my anatomy or anything. I'm just here to put down lines and get something to my own liking. And I'm not going to be super critical about myself, because I could always critique myself to death. So let's see. Let's just get it to a decent degree where it looks okay. And I think that's how I treat a lot of my sketches. Oh, it looks okay. It could always be better, but for now, what we want, it's okay. Let's see. Give it a little bit more life to the face. Maybe we can work on the head. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. Do that a quick flip. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. Sometimes I'll also imply, like, I'll try to figure out some other rules for myself, or not figure out rules. I'll apply rules that I've learned in the past, and they sort of just naturally start coming out, where I'll think about more about the horizon line and where the figure lines up in perspective, and you just kind of build up that library and stuff over time. Sometimes I go a little bit too warped with the perspective, and I have to work on managing that. Maybe I could show a little bit more of the pelvis here. Yeah, that kind of looks good. So let's see. I think that's a okay base. That foot doesn't look totally natural to me, to my eye. So let's see if we can just change that. And that's like, oh god, that's why I love digital art so much. It's like you can just change absolutely everything. And maybe some people will argue that that is like cheating or whatever, but it's all still coming from your brain, and it's all still your own work. And if you didn't bother to take time to learn things and create that thing that's in front of you, then it wouldn't have happened without you. And that's what's important. So let's see. I think this is, to a decent degree, something that we can work with now, actually. So I'll just like I normally do, I'll just be tweaking things, because this is just the rough. Like this is really just not much. There's not much going on here, so there's not much to worry about. We have all the time in the world to just keep changing things. Maybe the character's looking at his phone. Like, I think that's what I often do, and we can just like give him a phone or something. Maybe he's like on his way to class, or you know, something like kind of just, you know, just average day of the life of this character. Give him a phone. Let's see. Maybe we can like angle the head a little bit because he's looking at the phone. Just the size, try to match that. He's like, oh, maybe he's got like a little notification or something. Maybe, yeah, we can give him a little email notification, give him a little mail like that. And it's all kind of like, you're just building up all of these different kinds of stories and narratives as you go, and you're like, it sort of just starts taking a life of its own, and you don't really know which direction it's going to go, but that's the kind of fun, adventurous part, and I often forget that too. Okay, so I think this is okay. I think let's go to a new layer now. So then I'll go to my next layer. Let's knock this down a bit. This blue layer is going to be just faint enough so that we could still see it, but it's not going to be too distracting, because we just want to move on. Actually, let's move that more towards the center, and then maybe we'll make that a little bit bigger, so it's just the main focus. So let's see. Then we'll go to a darker line, and the thing is, even with like traditional sketching, I'm not too big on traditional. I really should be, but when you go like right in with this kind of like dark line, it just takes up all the attention. Like you focus, like, look at this. This is all the focus right here. You're not looking at any of this other sketch already. Your eyes are just drawn towards this super dark line, and that's what you got to be really cautious of sometimes. Like, so that's why it's really nice to just go nice and light, and you'll try to figure out like your shapes some more. You'll be refining a little bit more of the anatomy, and even a little bit of light and value with the darkness of your lines. You can always imply that. So like under the chin, if I want to make it a little bit darker than the lines up here, I'll just kind of be emphasizing that right now. And that gives you kind of an idea of like, oh, there's shadow right there, without even you knowing that. Like, your brain already tells you that that's where the light is. And that's like the really cool observations that you make as an artist. And when you learn more about art, like those little nuances that really like captivate the attention from like your audience, and you'll really start to pick up on like, oh, that's why it looks this way, or that's why the artist did it this way. And I just like putting a little quick like shadow like line to just show that right there. I don't even have to put it in the shadow just yet, but yeah, we can just kind of work with this and see where it goes. Think a little bit about like the muzzle and where the chin line is, and kind of build the structure there. I like to put a little lash right there because it shows a little bit more depth to the face. and we're still adding structure. I've just drawn a lot of dog heads in my furry career so far, so it really is something that I enjoy drawing. Yeah, and I also just look at my own dog, and I'll try to understand her features as I'm playing with her and stuff, or is she just staring and watching me idly. I'll try to think about like how her ears are shaped and like where's the kind of anatomy there, so I can bring that into my art. And then even if I take like 5 or 10 minutes just to do that, I notice I'm already drawing a little bit better and a little bit more accurate every time. Yeah, and this is coming along well. I like it. So maybe we can add the hair. My Sona, the hair is something I always struggle with because I always find that I make it too flat, and I've watched like dozens of tutorials and stuff of how to make hair more structured, but I just feel like I haven't sat down to personally like ingest that kind of information, so I'll often just kind of cheese my way through it, and then like if I'm not painting, I just find that it's especially coming out really flat, and if I took more time to illustrate the hair in a way that shows more form and overlapping folds, then I'll get better at that. So I guess I should just set aside some time for that. But yeah, it's kind of funny too, like when dogs have hair, like it's a very anthro thing. It's like they have fur, they don't have hair, their whole body's covered in fur. But yeah, this is my Sona, so he's got hair. I was really against that too before because I was like, that's not natural. And then eventually I'm like, well, if my Sona is supposed to be more like me, then I'm gonna make it more like the features that I have and the features that I like looking at. So that's how it kind of came to be. So maybe I put in a little bit too much detail already over here, focusing on the head and stuff, but that was fun. That's okay. And we can go more on the structure of like figuring out our main shapes. So the chest is something I always find to be really fun because it really sets like the perspective and the structure for your figure. It's like the foothold for your whole character, and that's when we can really get those nice shapes in to give the rest of your piece the life and like the real basis for the rest of your drawing. And you just use simple shapes. I'm even like sometimes, yeah, I'll automatically go in with a little bit more of like some contour here and there because I like those contour lines, and I'll just throw them in already, even though I should figure out my basic shapes first. And I shouldn't really be sketching too much, but there I go again, kind of being too critical when this isn't supposed to be serious. Man, it's like super it's really new for me to try to narrate exactly what you're doing live. It's pretty funky. But yeah, I recommend like doing that once in a while cuz it'll make you think in different ways, and that's always very healthy, I think. So let's see what else we can get. That let's see. I think the hips here, the rib cage looks okay. I think I'm putting too much emphasis on the perspective. So like, I think it should just focus more on silhouette, maybe. Yeah. So like, kind of here's like the waistline that I'm seeing right now, and I always like seeing how artists go about their sketch because it's really like the cool blueprints for like, I don't think there's really much else that you can see going on in a person's brain other than like watching an artist sketch, because like they're making and showing you exactly what they're envisioning and figuring out all at the same time. And like when you build up that kind of appreciation for like what learning and, you know, practice and focus that they went through, like that's like, I don't know, like you can't really find that experience anywhere else other than watching artists and people at their craft perform. That's really fun, and that's really like, that gives me motivation all the time. So here I am trying to figure out like, okay, well, where's this like behind here? Like I also have to be more comfortable with like drawing through the figure. Like, let's see, like not because again, like this is also another sketch on top of a sketch that could always be refined. So there's nothing to worry about right there. Maybe I'll like kind of rotate it, look at it from different angles. I already made this kind of like this through line. It's the line of action where it's like the main pose is right there, and that's something that I picked up from doing a lot of figure drawing before. So like the challenge there is to always kind of refine and do that process a little bit quicker, like to always figure out a little bit like not really tricks, but maybe like personal tricks, like getting used to how you've been doing something for a while, and then like really getting that tightly locked down to say like it's gonna let you, like the thing you practice, you're gonna be so good at it you won't even realize that you're doing something so naturally already that some people might have a lot of time struggling with. Yeah. Man, I'm just trying to let my brain ramble, but I think it's kind of distracting me right now. So let's see. We got the forearm right here, kind of twisting, and there's a lot of birds outside the window right now. But let's see. Maybe I always like seeing when hands are in these really like kind of curled up poses. Like it looks really more like natural to me when you always see a little bit of curl in the hand or something, because like that's kind of how they rest. They're not always like totally, you know, like splayed open, you know. They're not always like straight or whatever. They're kind of curled like this. Like you don't really see, like, you know, it's not always just totally flat. It's got a little bit of that angle to it, and that's what I really like seeing. Thinking about different planes and stuff, and sorry if you hear a lot of clicks. It's just a lot of Control Z. Something that I gotta get kind of not as reliant on, but let's see. Okay, well that's kind of looking unnatural though, I'll be honest. So let's see, what can we change about this? What kind of like natural pose? Maybe the hand is a bit too much detail to focus on right now. If I can't really feel it out at the moment, maybe I should just move on, and maybe that's something that I should pay attention to more often. Oh, okay, well maybe that's got a little bit of nuance to it. I don't even know if that's the word. Let's see, maybe we can stretch this out a bit more. I'm not liking that. That's okay. It's okay. You gotta be okay with that. Ooh, see, I'm also seeing the back could be a little bit more flat. That's really cool. That looks a wee bit better to me. Let's see. Chest is like this. I'm slowly developing a little bit more form. That hand, and then I'll just also like I don't have to draw right now. I could take some time to just like look at what my hand is looking at, and like how does the hand look in real life when you look at your own hand. As I've seen like a lot of different artists and animators, they'll use a lot of the times they'll have their own little personal mirror where they're making funny expressions and stuff just to focus on getting that expression just right. There's no better reference than your own often, because you put yourself in that zone to feel what the art should be portraying, and I think that's the right way to go about it. But yeah, hands are another thing that like takes time to focus on, and I think that's why like people will put them in pockets most often or something, because it's just easier to hide things. But if you hide them all the time, you won't necessarily get better at them. So that's why I like, even if my hand looks crap, I'll happily put a hand somewhere just to add that to my library of like, hey, I still tried to draw that thing. It wasn't totally perfect, but hey, I tried. That's what's important. Maybe, oh yeah, he's holding the phone, right? So try to imagine the phone in like that space, maybe something like that. So he's got to be holding it. kind of like in a grip, and that's really rough. But like the main thing is like we're just trying to communicate the thing. We're just trying to see if it can communicate a little bit better on, and it's a little bit more refined on this layer. That's all that matters. I think that looks a little bit better, not much, but made a little baby step towards that arm. So let's see, what else can we add? I don't like the way that we're looking at this foot. It doesn't quite seem like it's in proper perspective. So let's try to just chop that up, because I think I've got an idea of how to just kind of manipulate that to throw it in a little bit better. Yeah, see, when it's shorter, you're foreshortening, so it's kind of looking like it's following more of a direction with each other. I like that. So it's kind of going this way. Yeah, maybe we can leave that in. It'll help give us a little bit of balance. So the tail is always really fun to do. I like just making these kind of big swooshy curly cues, just to give it some of the nice flowy lines, and then I'll add a little bit of this back area here to kind of give it depth. So I always struggle between like how thick a tail should be and like how long it should be and how much curl it should have, because you want to make it bouncy, you want to make it fluffy, you want to do all those different things, and I'll just play with it a lot. Like give it a little bit of that nice what is that, golden arch, or that perfect ratio circle, or perfect ratio triangle. I forget what it's called. I think it's called the golden ratio. And yeah, you just kind of feel it out, just like it's got that nice arch to it. That butt is really big. Let's see, nothing wrong with a big butt though. So let's see, it's kind of funny talking like this and trying to do art too is actually not, it's getting, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable right now, and I'm starting to feel like a bit of a Bob Ross. Like, today we're gonna be painting some friends, you know, some little trees. But instead we're going to be painting furries, and yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think, let's try to take away the back. Oh, that looks a bit cleaner. That's not too bad. Okay. Maybe now we can go a little bit in more with the details, just a little bit. So let's add that bag. Let's see how that bag would kind of go over the shoulder and stuff. And by the way, like, this is all kind of like a hodgepodge, kind of rushed, kind of drawing session, because in all honesty, I'd be looking at a ton more references for like even like what the kind of bag I would be using, like what kind of pose would look good with this kind of idea, but this is all just from imagination right now. We're not worrying about like, oh, this could always be better. Like it could be so refined and stuff to like the nth degree that, you know, you'll never be done, and you'll never feel that feeling of like completion or satisfaction with your work. But reference, reference is really important. When you're working on stuff that's really involved and like you really want to nail down some key features, but you also got to take some time to just sit down, relax, and then just pull something from your brain, because if you've been working on art for a little bit, even a year or a couple months or even a few days, you've took some time to just think about like objects, think about people, think a little bit about even just like, I don't know, if you like drawing of vases or something, if you like painting vases, you already have like the idea of what those vases look like, and you can put that in your work, and that's what really matters. Okay. So let's see, what else am I doing? I'm just kind of adding to the face here and there. Maybe I can I love showing like the belly lines of fur to the character, because it kind of also adds like a little bit to the structure. So when you see like you know, the fur kind of going over the chest and stuff. I'm showing you a plane that the fur is laying on the body, and that kind of gives you a little bit more understanding of the pose and stuff. So it's kind of like a little cheap way of just kind of showing where the forms are that I've noticed. So let's see what else. Oh yeah, so like even here, adding it on the tail, you can see that, you know, like I'm just adding it to the bottom, because sometimes tails, they're white on the bottom and they're black or whatever coat of fur that they are on the top, whatever color they are. And then I'll add a little bit more floofies and these little kind of like tufts of fur. They're really fun to add to the figure because it shows the texture and like the softness of the character. Maybe he's got some of those hair. I don't even know what these things are called. What are these little black things called on the muzzle where the hair comes out? Yeah. So let's see. What else could I do? What else could I add? So I think now we're at a point where the blue lines are kind of distracting. Like, I feel like we've put down enough on the base for us to get an idea of what these blue lines, they serve their job already. So let's take those away. Now we just have this, and it's coming along. Maybe I'll play with the perspective a little bit more. I'll try to warp things to get them into like a manner that I think will be more comfortable to work with. And sometimes you can easily go too far with this and it'll get really flat. So that's what you got to be wary of. So right now I think having this, okay, let's try to take away that line that we drew through. So that'll make it more solid. Okay, that works. That's been working a little bit. I like that. Taking away a little bit more at a time of the structure lines. And this, I don't think I'm going to be happy with this leg, this drawing session, but that's okay. It'll be something to think about later when I'm totally warmed up. So I think, yeah, let's take this to one step further. Let's add another layer and let's just try to take this in. So we're gonna be repeating the same process that we had with the blue line phase, and as we refine that one, we got a little bit more detail out of that layer, and we're getting a little bit more to a finished state, and I think that's what we'll aim for. Again, like, this is just a sketch, and I don't know, I think we've been going on for just about half an hour now since we started this piece. Yeah, so it's kind of all about refining and taking the time to just, again, try to think about the lines that could be a little bit more refined so that they communicate a little bit more of what you want the piece to look like. So right now I'm just doing the booper, and you notice, like, I'll take my time a little bit more with every line. I'm not gonna be worrying too much about having it be like too thick or thin, because they're all laid out right here. They're all just right there before me. I don't have to worry about the placement. I just have to worry about refining the line, just making sure I nail down the placement, the maybe the little bit of mood that you can get with an eyelash or something. Like, if you thicken it a bit, or if you kind of droop it down a bit, maybe show that the eyelid is a little bit more maybe recessed, that you get a little bit more depth like that. I like showing that kind of emotion. Also adding the eyebrow, we put down the form for that eye socket right here. That's what that was for, and it really does help you place the eyebrow on top of the socket. So let's see, what else could we add? Maybe a little tooth. I always like a little snaggle tooth. It's a very canine-like feature. I also like putting these little ticks, because although they're not like straight up tufts of fur, they kind of signify little individual strands of fur, and it kind of just lets it blend back into the form. So we'll go from the ear. Let's just work on this ear. maybe I'll make the ear face a little bit more to the front here, so we'll kind of emphasize the forward nature of the ear a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of like that. So maybe we'll put the fur like this way. I don't usually do it this way, but we'll try something new. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like it points this way more. So he's like listening to something, you know, in that direction. His attention is focused this way to the phone. So maybe, oh boy. So here's my challenging part. Always trying to figure out the hair and how to refine the hair, because I don't have too much structure in this department. But we'll see where we get. Even on some of my commissions too, I've gotten some feedback and some constructive criticism about, like, oh, can you give the hair a little bit more flow to it, and a little bit more kind of bounciness and liveliness to the hair. And I know, like, if I'm getting that criticism a little bit consistently here and there, it's like, oh, that's something I should pay attention to and work on. So that kind of feedback is really appreciated, even if you think that, like, oh, it might hurt the artist's feelings, like, no, this is their only style, this is, how they draw. It's really valuable to the growing artist, especially if they intend on growing. Like this is something that I need to understand how to do better, and if I want to show people that, and if I'm getting feedback that, like, people think that, even to their untrained eye, this kind of looks off, like, that's really valuable, because sometimes you get caught up in your own kind of work and you won't know where you're lacking. Something, yeah, that's really important to keep in mind. But I don't know, I feel so snobby. Like, this character is starting to feel snobby to me. It's like, I'm on my phone, I should check my Twitter feed or whatever. I should check my Gmail because it's got business on it or something. I don't know. It's so important, that's why. So let's see, maybe I'll try to get a little bit under that armpit just to show the pectoralis, and show just a little bit of anatomy under the fur, because that's kind of the interesting thing too about, like, furries. Like, you can go super, like, hardcore, like, anatomy, muscle, macro kind of stuff, and there's a lot of fur, like, on an animal. So even a super jacked bear or whatever, or a tiger, you can make out some muscle forms, but they won't be, like, bear skin kind of, and I mean bear as in, like, BARE, bear skin type of detail. You won't get that kind of structure if the fur and the texture is all covering the anatomy. You'll just get these kind of clumpy forms, and those forms are also really important to pay attention to when you're drawing, especially animals. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing too about, like, why I choose to draw furries and stuff. Well, not only because I'm in that community and that's what I have a lot of fun with, and who I have a lot of fun with, other artists talking about anthro art and stuff, but it's because, I don't know, humans are, sometimes they get a little bit kind of boring to draw because that's all you see, and there's like this little bit of fantasy to furries that are really fun, and like that's just has a little bit more interest there for me personally. So I'll just see if I can get the strap straight, because that's the only thing about, like, kind of having straps, you gotta keep them consistent. So let's see here. That should be a little bit more laying flat on the chest, but that's okay. But man, we're just blitzing through this. This is crazy. Sometimes you can make the shadows too a little bit nicer. Like, if you follow one direction, you could just show, like, where the light's coming from, with hatching and stuff. So here we have this hand. Maybe I'll give the hand a little bit more structure. Let's see. There we go. And also, like, adding a little bit of the nails to to the little paws. It's always nice and cute. And I always like how there's like a little bit of pinky. It's always a little bit separated for you to get a little bit more of an idea of where the fingers are, where the phalanges are, the digits. So there's that. Okay. Sorry, I keep bumping my mic too. So the hand, I'm a little intimidated by the hand right now. I'm just gonna focus on the nub of the arm right now. Just let that kind of simmer, and then I'll go on to something else. So let's see. Here, maybe this arch could go a little bit more back. It's kind of got like this arch, so I don't think the fur looks really good right there. Let's try to see if we can get the fur a little bit higher up or something. So even though we went from a refined sketch in our second stage, we can always change that. The placement is good for the majority of the lines, and we just want to see how we can tweak things a bit more. Like, I don't even know why I put this angle in this bag here. It like makes no sense. Like, why is there an angle there? I don't know. Maybe I can always change that. See, I could just go down here, add a little bit more of like a flat strap. Like maybe there's as I start to think about the details more, maybe there's one of those clasps that the strap is on, you know. It's not just totally stitched to the bag, even though some bags are stitched like that, but maybe a little bit more detail like that could go a long way. I do like the flap on the shoulder bag, messenger bags. Those are always fun. And maybe like because you lay down the bag a lot on the base, it has that leather protectiveness to give the base a little bit more ruggedness to it. Yeah, so I mean that's enough to communicate that hey, it's a shoulder bag, you know, or it's a man purse, or whatever this character wants. It's a satchel. I don't know. Butt. You gotta draw the butt. You gotta draw the thigh. Yeah, I do like how a little bit more of the pelvis is showing right there, because it kind of shows like it leads into the leg a little bit better. I could always do my contours a little bit better. Even as I'm thinking about this, like I'm like, oh, like I would take like a whole hour just trying to figure out the contour of this one calf or something a little bit better. Yeah, but again, like that's not what we're focusing on right now. We're just focusing on getting a clean sketch. Let's just do that. That's the goal. And maybe I should have said that at the beginning, because I don't think that I made that clear. I just said we're going to be warming up. Well, yeah, actually, I take that back. I'm full of contradictions. We're just focusing on warming up our brain, because no matter what, if you do this, your mind's already, it's honing in on what you're going to be doing later. So for me, I'm going to be honing in on painting, but I've already got my hand and my brain working together to try and put this piece together. So that is already like kind of, I guess, what do you call that when you're warming something up, where you're warming up a car or a machine? You're not prefabbing, you're like, I don't even know what that's called. What are you doing? Like you're just getting everything kind of going, like you're putting things into motion. Maybe it is still too early for me. So let's see if we can try to get, yeah, see, like even if I think I'm lacking structure somewhere else from the last sketch, I'll redo those shapes to try and put that structure into place. So since I tried to get the foreshortening a little bit more on this foot, yeah, maybe that can go up a little bit more. So let's just chop that. Let's just put it a little bit more up. There we go. That looks a bit better. Okay. Let's see. I'll put little details. I want to lose that. Maybe it's got a little bit of this going on. There we go. I don't know. Let's just throw my Sona in it. Why not? Get a little bit more details out with my Sona in my brain already. Got the little triangles. it's got here. Add a little bit more of the nose shadow, show like a little bit more form on that. I also like adding, there's this really cool thing you can do where the top of the iris can be totally black, but if you put a little bit of the pigment for the pupil just sticking out like just right there, bam, you already have shadow and depth on the eyeball. Like you don't have to do any fancy shading or anything. It's all just right there. And yeah, oh, but you could go a step further and you could go white and then just add a little bit more of that specular right there, you know, yeah, just somewhere like, just to show there's a little bit of light hitting the eyeball, because it's wet, it's a little sphere, and because we pay attention to the eyes a lot, it's always a huge like landmark. And I don't know what happened to my program. Great, the touch, the touch went bad. I can still draw though. Oh, there it is. Okay, it came back. Photoshop, you're amazing. Actually, like I've seen a lot more people. They go to Procreate now on their iPads, because freaking. I even have a commission right now that's worked on by another amazing artist. I think their name is Jules. I'll be sharing their work soon enough. But what do you call? They're working on an animation that I've got in the works for this channel. Actually, it's for my YouTube channel, and I can't wait to show you guys. The thing about like animation is that, you know, it's just so time consuming, and it's so beautiful, and I love hand drawn animation. One thing that I did want to do before when I was first getting into art was 2D illustration, but animation, my bad. I am doing 2D illustration, but it just became so time consuming. I didn't have any fundamentals then to animate, and I don't discourage anyone from doing that. That was just the path that I chose. But oh god, it was so amazing. Like I did a fan art of the Game Grumps animations. That's one thing that I did. I also had a whole like backlog of just trash things that, you know, from bouncing balls to flour sacks and stuff like that I've always like tried to get a better understanding of. But like yeah, that's a really in-depth practice, and I had to pick and choose my battles. I can't do all the art myself, or all the fields of art myself, even though I really want to at times, because you just get kind of lost in, you know, that kind of direction. If you don't really, wow, he's looking really lazy, just super lazily holding that phone. Maybe right there. Dang, that's pretty far away too. Oh, but it's just because like he just got the notification, so he's like, boop. I got the little Gmail notification, or maybe that's a little DM right there. You know, it's a little somebody wants to RP or something. It's like boop. Oh yeah, I can put in my little thorn pattern on my Sona. So this was, I think this is, oh wait, no, I can still add in more of the pattern. I keep forgetting to add in these little stripey things. Let's go, let's take our time. I'm rushing this. I honestly am going a little bit too fast. And I'm losing a lot of what I enjoy putting into a piece. Pick and choose your battles. Okay, so there's that. Okay, I think, are we ready to take away the last layer? Maybe I'll add a little bit more of the toes, just a little bit to the toenails. Give it that more feral look. And bam. Okay, this is, there's not any super high fit and finish polish here. And you could, like, to me, my brain is already going, like, you could touch up all these lines, you can thicken these lines, you can emphasize the negative space between this arm right here and the arch of the back. Like, it's endless. But I think I'm ready to get on with my commission already. I'm feeling the creative juices flowing. So thank you guys for watching. This has been Theo drawing and trying to warm up his lazy brain for the morning. And I hope you guys got something out of this, even if it was just like a few laughs or whatever. So yeah, you guys take care, and I gotta check my DMs. Okay, bye bye. And a very big shout out to my Patreon Pup supporters: Adrian Eves, Ben Campbell, Cord Hall, Fire the Fox, Ludwig, Michael Draws, Sasso Pro, Cyan Wolf, and Tyler Green. Shoutouts to my good boy supporters: Archon Inu, Howler, Jesse Anderson, Marco Valverde Mendoza, OK Dougal, and Seeker. And coming in at my top dog supporters: Artorius Nightwalker, Bryce, Damon, Ferris, Hattie, MN, Moody, Ella Ryra, who says, "Rabbits rule and dogs drool," and Yoru Panda Wolf. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting my content, and if you'd like to see more, follow my Patreon or my Twitter, all at Shikokubo, SHIKOKUBO. Thank you very much, and have a good day.